up people, Multiplier here, and today I'm going to do another massive tutorial because everyone loves massive and it's a pretty awesome synth. And today I thought I'd do something different, and instead of making laser noises or bass noises, I'd show you how to make those kind of progressive house, stabby, plucky sounds that seem to be dominating the charts right now. So it's these kind of things. You know, there's kind of like stabby sounds that you kind of make a bit of a pattern out of, maybe do a little bit of pitch modulation, and then you've got basically a riff out of the stabby sounds, and then you just got like a 4 to the floor long tail kick or something, and that's the whole drop. You know the sort of style I mean. It's been really popular in beatport right now, so it's that kind of sound we want. Now, they sound pretty simple, the sounds, just because they're quite short, but there's actually quite a bit of detail that goes into it. So you need to listen carefully to get that like layer of detail in the sound, because when you only got like a kick and a plucky synth as your kind of only thing going on in your drop or whatever, then you need to make sure that each kind of element in there has all the detail you need, because there's no hiding. There's not much sounds there. Cool. So yeah, that's the kind of basic sound we're gonna make, and you've got to bear in mind if it sounds a bit kind of boring as it is, it's because it's not as part of a track. So you've got to kind of imagine it with some reverb and heavily limited with some like long tail kicks or something as part of a track, and then you can start to see how it's quite a cool little sound that can be used to make everyone at festivals go nuts and shit. So should be good. So yeah, I've got this Stab 2 sound I just made. We're gonna make a brand new one from scratch just so you can see it develop, but I'll include this Stab 2 preset as well as the new one we make. Probably call it Stab 3. Links to it below or at the end of this video, so should be good. Cool. First of all, file, new sound. Now, if you haven't seen my videos before, I do a lot of talking, but it's mainly because it's a bit pointless me just showing you the exact settings to make a sound, because then you don't really know why I did them, and then when you want to make your own version of it, then you don't really know what you're doing. So I'm going to take a little bit more time, but explain to you why I'm doing what I'm doing and how stuff works. That way you can make up your own sounds and kind of do your own thing, basically. Should be good. So yeah, this is massive. Just done file, new sound. First thing we do, like I always say in my massive tutorials, oscillator tab, click restart via gate. Now, if you don't know what that does, click it. If you do know what it does, then you'll know whether or not you want to click it. So look it up in the manual. It's a bit of a complicated concept to explain, so just click it if you can't be bothered to look it up. It should be good. So I'm not going to explain in detail how all these envelopes work, but you basically, these are envelopes here. You get 4 of them in massive. You get to choose like the attack and the decay, the levels, and all that kind of stuff. And then if you want to route them to anything, it's got to have one of these boxes next to it. And then you simply click the arrowy thing and then click it in the boxes and drag it up or whatever. And that kind of routes this envelope to whatever's in the box. So that's how the envelopes work. First of all, amplitude, by default, the 4th envelope is routed to the amplitude of the whole sound. So first thing we need to do is basically change that. So we're going to bring the level all the way down and then probably pull back the decay a bit. And there you go. Got a nice little decay and a nice pluckiness just by playing with these settings. Now you can play with the decay setting to get the kind of the tail just how you like it, or if you're getting really fancy, you can route one of these macro knobs just by clicking those little arrows there to the decay, and then you can like just do a little bit like that, and then by playing with this macro knob you can fine tune where the decay is, so whenever you say bring up the sound, you don't have to dig right into the envelopes to change it. And you can like, I don't know, rename number 2 tail. See, isn't that lovely? Quick little tip, but I'm going to leave that off. I like the decay about like that. Should be good. Right, next, we're going to basically turn on all the oscillators, which is 3 of them. So just click the little buttons there, oscillator 2, oscillator 3, and then we're going to stick this same amplitude thing on the amplitude envelope on the amplitudes of the individual oscillators. Now, I don't really need to do this, but do it anyway, just basically so I don't forget more than anything else. Bringing it this way, clicking it, and then if you just kind of imagine the shape of the amplitude envelope, you'll see why I dragged it to the left and then pulled out the envelope to the right. Sweet. So that's the amplitude sorted. Next, what we need to do is to thicken up the sound a bit. We are going to pull out one of the oscillators down an octave. So we're going to grab this number on the right and pull it down 12 semitones, which is an octave. Still sounds pretty boring, right? It's because we've still got shitloads to do. Right, cool. Now that's done. We need to choose some wave tables, I guess you call them, or voices. I suppose you call them voices, but they're technically wave tables. So by clicking these bits up here, you can choose which wavetable each oscillator is. Now, massive is a subtractive synth, so you basically start off with some complicated like waveforms, and then you kind of let them play with each other and then mess about with them. So that's different to say FM synthesis, where you start off with lots of simple stuff and then you create complicated shit. With subtractive synthesis, you start off with something complicated. So we're going to have a bit of a play about, try and choose a combination of voices and positions within the wavetable, which are these knobs, wavetable position. Look up wavetables and subtractive synths if you don't understand what I'm talking about. It's worth looking it up just so you're aware of kind of what's going on. But yeah, just have a play about until we get something cool. That'll do. Yeah, just having a quick play. You might have also noticed I had a quick play around by changing spectrum to 4-man, just to see if anything cool came about. So that's another thing to have a play about with, is these bend and formant settings. Again, have a look it up in the manual if you don't know what formants are or how that affects this thing here. But yeah, have a play about, come up with a basic sound that sounds roughly cool. And I think that sounds cool enough to work from. And now we're good. So next thing is something that's overlooked quite a bit, is the modulation disc. Now, I don't really know what it does. I have a loose idea, but basically I just have a play about with it to see how it affects the sound. If it sounds cool, brilliant. So let's have a bit of a play. Took a little longer than expected, but yeah, have a play about with the modulation disc. I think the phase one's probably the most useful thing. Just adds a bit of a character and a bit of edge to the sound, so especially with these plucky things. Although you can feel like it might kind of get overlooked, it's worth getting all those details in there and listening out really carefully for all those subtle harmonics and weird shit that goes on. So have a play about with the modulation OSC. Did I call it disc? I might have done. It's modulation OSC. But yeah. Now we set that up, nearly there. Next thing we're going to do is set up the voicing. So if we go to the voicing tab, now basically this makes shit sound wide. It adds multiple versions of itself, kind of different tunings, I guess you'd call it, to make it sound wide. So it kind of tricks your brain into thinking the same sound as wide. Look up my tutorial on, I think it's called like making stuff wide and massive, or something like that. I explain in more detail how it works. But basically, if you do want to make stuff sound wide, drag this unisolo number up a bit, maybe 3. Turn on pitch cutoff, pull it out a little bit, not too much. Turn on the pan position, and then it should sound wide. And then it's worth noting that you probably, now you've got a load more voices, you have to pull down the master a bit, otherwise it's going to be clipping. Cool. So yeah, that's that. Just pull it out a little bit, turn on that one, pull it up to 2, say, and that'll give you a bit of width to the sound, like Synthesis 101 basically. But it's worth knowing, if you're not using the voicing tab, you're not kind of getting the most out of the synth, and your sounds will sound quite narrow and not that interesting. Cool. Finally is the effects. So you're going to choose something like phaser. Let's try a bit of that. Again, keep your eye on this meter on the right. That shows you whether or not your synth is clipping now. Because it's digital, it doesn't matter if it's clipping a little bit. You can always pull it back down later on. But you might as well just keep check of things. And whenever you're going to do something, keep your eye on this meter. If it goes into the red, just pull down this master knob a bit, so you're not clipping. Otherwise, you just make it difficult for yourself later on. So yeah, that's phaser. I like phaser. It kind of adds in a bit of high-end detail, bit of high-end coolness. Again, it's all about those subtleties. Like, if you're watching this and thinking, well, all those little things are a bit pointless, it sounds the same, or why are you doing that? Listen on better headphones, or just listen more carefully, because it may sound like the top 10 on Beatport or whatever sounds really simple and sounds like you could do it yourself, but actually if you listen to what's going on, there's an awful lot of detail in there that you need kind of experienced ears or just careful listening to kind of pick out on. And that's what separates the top guys from the 100,000 guys below them, to be honest. So listen out for the details. It's super important. And then, yeah, finally, something like the dimension expander. Can't really go wrong with. Sweet, I like that. You might have to turn it up to get the full effect, because if you have it too quiet, you can't hear all the details. But yeah, dimension expander works quite well. It's almost like a reverb, but not. It's kind of a bit weird. And I think it works, especially with this kind of sound, quite good if you have the size turned right down. Otherwise, you get this kind of bounce back, almost like a small room reverb. So yeah, play around with the size, play around with the dry wet, but there's the sound nice and thick. I do want the sound nice and thick, and then because of the kind of plucky nature and the fact it's got a really short decay on it, then when you kind of heavily limit it or even distort it during the mastering stage, it basically flattens the top off and you get a much thicker sound. But because of the fact that it started off super kind of plucky, the first bit of the sound gets compressed crazy loads, and that gives the attack even more edge, even more bite, because that's a lot of what these kind of top stabby sounds are in Beatport right now. It's just a really kind of thick, kind of sharp, attacky, percussive kind of synth sound, and that'll do it for you. So yeah, I'm going to save this as something like stab 3. Oh, capitals, don't want them. Stab 3, and I'll include a link to all these presets. Now, they will be the .nsmv, I think it is, ones, because I got the latest version of Massive. So don't bitch at me if you wanted the .ksd. Buy Massive, or kind of, I don't know, make it yourself. They're your two options. Should be cool. Just make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Oh, I have forgotten something. A little bit of a vibrato will be kind of good. Again, it's a real subtle thing. It's such a short sound, but yeah, add a bit of vibrato in there. I won't bother saving that to the preset just because it is a macro knob as it is. But yeah, a little bit of vibrato is always good as well. So I think that's it. It's pretty been a long video, hasn't it? 18 minutes. But yeah, I've been Multiplier. Hopefully you learned something. If not, yeah, just download the presets and use them yourself, I guess. Remember, you do need to have some sort of either delay and or reverb going on in the track with the sound. Otherwise, it will sound a bit boring by itself. So it does need to be put in a context, as I like to say. Yeah, there's your plucky sound for progressive house and shit, although I guess you can use it in pretty much any genre. Yeah, download it. If not, suggest any other tutorials you want me to do. Cool. Yeah, follow me everywhere on my social media. Follow my label below. Also, this should be the first video with my kind of intro animation, whatever you want to call it. Some guy, forget his name now, but links below, made it for me. Should be good. Check out his stuff too. And yeah, I got loads of tracks coming out in the next few months. So I also got a sample pack, so check that shit out too. Just, yeah, look up my social media below and just follow everything I do, buy everything I do. And then you find out all the cool stuff. So I do give away lots of stuff. Sweet. Been around, believe it. That's my USP. Cool. Have fun making sounds.